Thanks everyone for tuning in to Designers Lane podcast. I am Eddie Ryder. We're going to talk a little bit about decorating and design, furnishing. Today, we're going to focus a little bit more detail on building of your home or part of building your home. We have a special guest from DSA Doors. Now we're going to zip over and then see what Ken Custer has to say, and we'll get back to you soon. So everyone, thanks so much. I have my special guest. It's Ken, and help me with your last name.
Custer.
And then you're from DSA Doors, and we were just laughing about this. And it's, I know you guys based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and my question was, DSA has to stand for something. What does it stand for?
Well, when the business was founded, it stands for the Door Store of America.
Store of America.
So over time, we've rebranded to DSA Doors just for simplicity's sake.
I understand. You said you were relatively new to DSA Doors, but I think I've been going there for a while.
Oh, okay.
And a while meaning like over 10 years.
Yep.
And that I love your showroom. I love your product. And
Thank you.
We're working on a current project right now, which is hence how you're here and why you're here.
Yep.
That it was nice to, and I didn't really realize this, that you guys physically manufacture most of the stuff there. Is that correct?
That's correct. Now, we are aligned with other manufacturer partner in Indonesia. So the Indonesian counterpart makes the slab itself. So the construction of the door, the engineered process is done in Indonesia. Then it's shipped to DSA, and then we pre-hang it in our facility in Raleigh.
I love the experience of your Raleigh showroom. And then, first of all, do you guys have showrooms in other locations?
Well, no, we strictly sell through a dealer network that have our doors displayed there. Most of our dealers do.
Okay.
But it's only one showroom here in Raleigh.
Yeah. I got you. So if someone's building or they're looking, they can go through the distributor through the showroom there and physically see your product. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. That's where I was going. I misspoke. I loved one. I think it was really cool, and we've lucked out that you have a part of the manufacturing in Raleigh and able to go to that really, really cool showroom.
Yeah.
And the last trip that I made a couple of weeks ago, you had CAD drawings, line drawings of what's there. These particular doors were wide and tall, and that you did the CAD drawings. Now, granted, these are not inexpensive doors. They're quality doors. They're custom doors. That's the key word. And there's a lot of effort that went in. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys here and was talking to you is that I think you can almost build anything. And that you had those drawings. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. So we'll get drawings on a napkin sent to us, and copied and sent, and we'll get concepts. People just come in and like yourself and just tell us what they want. And we have our professionally trained CAD drawers there on staff in Raleigh. And that's where we receive the requests from our dealers and from our customers. And that's when we draw out the doors according to the specification.
I just love that factor. And full disclosure, I've had two wonderful clients that are very knowledgeable with what they want and a really, really good direction. And she sent some pictures over, and then I forwarded those to your team. And you're not always to do 100% of what you want, because I believe the door that I sent you guys was about 350 years old. And there's always a little bit of a joke hey,
I actually know
that, we can kind of get close to this, but we're not going to be able to drag it in the bottom of the creek and put mud on it for 200 years and achieve that look, but we can get pretty darn close to it. So I think that's great. Now, I want to remind our listeners and you that on my left, on your right, we do have our cheat sheet. We have our list of questions. I do not do everything in order. I get excited and sort of jump around a little bit. So that does help. So as I look over, that's why I'm being able to do it so our listeners can see it. So we've talked about where you're physically located, the showroom that I go to. And is it considered a showroom? Although I consider it kind of a plant because you guys physically make a lot of the stuff that's there.
So the reason we built that showroom was for the Raleigh market.
Right.
Since we're there, we might as well have what we have to
Which is a strong market.
Yeah.
Now, do you service Charlotte as well, which is about what?
We're in 44 states.
Okay.
So we service all over the place. But we did it for the Raleigh market, but we also do mill tours. So we bring customers in.
Oh.
Yeah. And
do you make them wear these really pretty gold neon yellow
absolutely,
vests?
Yeah. The brightest one you can find. So you're not so nobody confuses who you are in the factory.
Exactly.
But yeah, we have safety precautions and all of that we have to take. And but yeah, we do mill tours all the time. And we're located in Raleigh, and our showroom we built out. We just renovated it within the last 2 years, and we're always renovating. We're always putting a new door in there, like our pivot door that you're going to talk about later.
Yeah,
we just put that in there. So we try to keep it up to date. So people that we're training within our company, and also for customers, so it's up to date.
I want to talk about a minute about these mill tours. That's pretty awesome. First of all, let's educate people what mill is. It's your area, you mill something, you make it, you cut wood. I'm sure it has something to do with wood that's in there. And then if our listeners or local people or a church group or someone, school group wanted to go, who do they reach out to, and what is an approximate time for that to happen? Because I'm thinking that would really be cool for me. I would love that.
Yeah, our marketing manager sets all that up.
Okay,
so that's who you would contact. In our office, but. The follow-up question was?
Yeah, it is just that, I think you answered 2 or 3 that's in there. So if the listeners wanted to do that, they could just go to your website and then hit that information button, and that marketing person can make those arrangements. So that's cool. I love it. So we're clearly not going to see you back there whittling on a door,
No,
I'm assuming.
No, you won't. You won't see me there.
I love it. I think it's great. And then the primary focus of DSA is going to be doors. We don't want people to think that you do windows, that you do roofing, that you focus primarily or only on doors, whether they're custom or are they all custom.
Yes, that's perfectly said. It's we like to say it's an exotic wood door entry system for luxury homes. That's our primary focus. So it's very narrow. It's a very niche market that we do business in, and so we don't want anybody to think anything else. Like interior doors, we're not there. We're considering that maybe down the road, but right now it's just exterior doors, wood doors.
So that's great. And so what we don't want people to do is to walk in there and say, "What color does my toilets need to be? What color paint do I need to do?" Because you guys are very polite, but that's not your job. Your job is to create and design beautiful doors. I'm not sure if I have this on my list, and I'm just going to jump if I miss it. What size are you comfortable with front doors? Because I know in the last year, I've actually done a 10-foot high double front door with you with a radius, and the one you're doing right now is 9. And often industry standard is 8. And what we want people to understand is that you can do anything realistically, but I'm sure that there comes something that, hey, Eddie, once you get above 10 feet or 11 feet or 12 feet, the latching mechanisms become a little bit of a challenge, or it's difficult.
That's exactly right. We say in our custom area, we do up to a 5-foot width.
Okay.
And then up to 10 feet high.
Okay.
So anything more than that, it just gets wood starts acting differently that you can't really control.
So we don't want you to talk negative about anyone, but some of the doors that we see in the houses that maybe are on the West Coast that look like they are way more than 10 feet, and they also look like they're pivot, which we're going to talk about shortly. Is that something just to bring out on the very, very front end with you in the beginning and say, hey, we love these doors, they're 12 or 14 feet, and you know that ahead of time? I know for a fact, because again, I've been in the industry for 100 years, is that usually over 10 feet, wood is not pretty.
I think if you even look at the standards in the industry, doing a little research, you'll see that a lot of it has to do with shipping. So there's a lot of stuff that can be built custom on site,
right?
And people take their risks, but for us, we can't. It's very hard to ship a 15-foot door, so it gets very expensive.
Yes. It is. That makes sense. We talk a lot about this pivot door, which is, and hopefully there'll be a picture of that will come up. It is, I consider it more modern for sure. That happens that's in there. Is that same thing, the same width that you wouldn't encourage it to be more than 5 feet wide, which is 60 inches, which is a pretty wide opening.
Oh,
if you think about
a big beast of a door. Yeah.
And then the height, probably no more than 10 feet.
Yes, around that size.
Okay, wonderful.
And then you can cut it down. We've got certain specifications on what you can cut down to. And,
right.
But yeah, the big pivot doors are great.
Now, are those kind of custom made there as well? I'm doing a smaller one in North Raleigh, and it's my first one, so I'm super excited about it. And we had to pick out, it's just one slide of glass. It's a tall handle that pulls on.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's one of my first ones. So I'm super excited to do it.
I'm excited about it too. That's going to be cool.
It is. And so just to let our listeners know, and I'll hopefully in a couple of months bring it back up, that a pivot door, it's not hinged on the far outside.
That's
it's actually, do you know how far that the pivot, hence the word pivot, comes in from the edge of the door, or does it vary depending upon the door?
No, there are ranges you can do it. We don't do it right in the center, but you can move that hinge back and forth. The hinge is installed underneath the bottom of the door. So the system we use is called Fritz Jurgen, which is the highest quality hinge system that can be used in a wood door.
Okay.
And it's really cool because you can change the speed of the door when it opens up. You can, the angle of it, how quickly it latches. There's actually 3 different adjustments at the bottom of that hinge.
Okay.
That the consumer or the builder, whoever does the installation, can adjust.
Quick question. I've lately been running into a lot of issues with codes, with windows and with some doors and what you can and what you can't do. Say if that pivot is 10 inches or 12 inches away from where the hinges would go on the door, is there any type of issue that when it opens it up, you and I clearly can't fit through there, but a small child may be able to, or an animal may be able to, that is saying, hey, keep this in mind.
Yeah. And that's where those adjustments come. We've chosen a hinge system that you can do those kind of adjustments.
Okay.
When folks buy pivot doors, they don't know that in advance, and it's kind of fixed. Okay. So you adjust it is the bottom line answer.
Okay. So is it going to close regardless? So if I want to crack a pecan, I can stick it in there, or is it going to stop?
No, that's what that latch system is all about. So
really?
You can control that. It can slam, or it can
just be
go
super
very slow.
I got you.
So
really cool. Love it. I can't wait to look at that a little bit more. And we're certainly moving into more modern contemporary homes, and that lands in it. Although I would certainly say some of the period prairie style homes, which everyone thinks is modern, they're not modern at all. They've been around forever, kind of Frank Lloyd Wright-ish. Those pivot doors are beautiful.
Oh, they are.
I mean, they're magnificent. Are you comfortable giving elements? Because I have price elements. I have clients that will send me pictures of a kitchen as an example, and it's probably a $500,000 kitchen, and their budget's $150,000 or $200,000. And I'm just, you have to be honest with people sometimes and say, that's nowhere near in your allowance. Your allowance is for a $10,000 range, and what you're showing me is a $60,000 range. Your allowance is for a $8,000 front door, which is a pretty hefty number to start with. But I know for a fact that you have doors that could be upwards of close to $20,000 that's on there.
Yeah. And what the interesting thing about that's by the time it gets installed,
Yes.
I'm the manufacturer.
Right.
We sell to a dealer network, and the dealer network sells to customers, to builders, designers, and so forth. So, are you asking ranges? That's
it is, and that's what I wanted to hear is that it really, really depends. But I think a back way we can look at this is and I'm comfortable saying this, is that you're not going to have a door installed that you offer for the same thing that they could get at a big box store. In other words, if you come in and your allowance for a 3-foot wide door, 3.0 door, and an 8-foot tall door is $2,000 done, installed, they really don't need to be looking at you.
No.
Okay.
And that's where, honestly,
it's okay to say that sometimes. The facts are the facts.
And the thing about it is, Eddie, is that that's what that's where the value of a designer comes in.
Correct.
This is an expensive part of
it's a part of your life.
Right. It's your first impression.
Very first. Curb appeal.
It needs to tie in with the outside of the house as well as the inside of the house,
And it needs to last.
Yeah. So all those factors have to come into play. I mean, and that's why I think that, and you're right, these wood doors, let me just back up for a second. People choose a wood door because they want wood.
Right.
They want the beauty of wood.
And it's hard to replicate
because there's so many options out there, right? So people, generally speaking, I would say the end user for our doors is that person who cares and understands they want a wood door. They want that beauty. They want the natural product.
Right.
So, and these doors are not what your great-grandfather, your grandfather, whatever the case may be, chose. And, they had all kinds of issues with their wood door and it never shut right and all of it. These are engineered doors. These are properly engineered.
And they're truly engineered.
They absolutely are. The finger joints that we put when the stiles and rails are actually made, it's all precise engineering with that. So that what that allows is for, not as much movement as possible in the door that we can prevent, without, because it's a natural characteristic of wood is to absorb moisture, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So that's why they're engineered, and that's why we take so much time and care in doing that. But that that has to be considered. But just getting to my point of people choose wood because they want that natural characteristic, and with the designs we have like 300 or 400 designs.
You have a lot.
And this, that's available within 5 weeks, from DSA. Now, if you go to custom route, which you've done before,
right,
that's going to be a little longer lead time because there's more, it takes more time to do that. But
two things I want to bring up, which you talked about, is the do you say we do a beautiful wood door with you guys make it?
Yeah.
Do you stain it, or do you give it raw and the builder or the homeowners which is the builder is responsible for staining it?
So that goes back to design again, because you want to have the right tones.
I've done both.
And all of that. Yeah.
It is. That's in there.
Most of our doors, to answer your question directly, most of our doors are selected unfinished because the builder designer wants to do that to make sure it ties into the rest of the
I like when
design.
it's unfinished, because I'm going to tell you it needs to be walnut today.
Yeah.
And then when it goes in and the brick and the stone's in, I want to say,
different.
oh my gosh, I wish it was a little bit darker. And you really can't change it. That's there.
That's right.
And I've always been taught that usually within, 30 or 60 days of that door getting installed, you need to get something on it.
30 days is what we say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
we follow the standards in the industry.
Right. And we also encourage people to do the bottom of the door. Because often painters or stainers or people forget that the bottom of the door, water can wick up. It can physically go in. Oh, you already do that?
We seal it.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
In our process. Not many manufacturers take that extra step.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's really, really nice. I love that. So I'm going to look over my shoulder and then cheat. We talked about materials. What can doors be made from? Out of, obviously, it can be wood. There's different types of wood. I'm also assuming that you would like to know, are you going to paint it or stain it? That is something that you can't change on the fly unless you paint a beautiful wood door. And I know some of them for a fact at the coast. I do a lot of work in Wilmington that we've used acacia, and we've used material that didn't have a really strong overhang, so it was going to get some weather, and that you guys or the manufacturer recommended, hey, either use mahogany or use, I think, is it
Akoya.
Akoya, there you go. I didn't want to butcher that word. And Akoya, in my mind, doesn't stain very well. The grain doesn't look fabulous, but it paints nice. And we have been told recently that, and we break this rule a little bit, that it's better to have, for every foot of height you have of the door, you need a foot of covered projection. Have you heard that? And it becomes unrealistic, because if you have a 10-foot door, you're not always going to have a 10-foot covered front porch.
So the specification for a standard specification for a wood door, you'll find this anywhere you do any research.
Right.
It's half the height of how high the actual ceiling is of the overhang. So it's not half the door height. So if you have an 8-foot door, it's not 4 feet.
Okay.
If it's 2 feet above that, it's 10 feet high. It has to be a minimum of 5 feet out.
Okay.
The overhang does, if you're using anything but Akoya.
So it's half of the height of the overall overhang, the ceiling that's out there. Okay. That's good to know, because there's been a couple I've been using. For every foot there's a door, there needs to be a foot overhang. And a couple projects I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we don't have a 10-foot or 12-foot overhang that's on the door. Yeah. But we have easily 5 feet or 6 feet. So that makes sense.
So what's interesting about that is some people ignore the fact that, we'll get a call every now and then, and we have the proper overhang, and you just see this straight overhang, but nothing from the side.
Nothing on the left and right.
But it's wood. You got to get back to, you've chosen a wood door, and you got to ensure that installation is properly done.
That's a great thing to think about. What do, if you know this, on the, we're in the South, rain comes from up, all over, down, sideways, backwards. Yeah. So how far would you recommend the side of the door being, if you have the overhang? It's clearly not half ratio, is it? Or is it?
To be on the safe side, I would recommend it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's got to be a nice overhang in all directions facing out.
Okay. Now, devil's advocate, do you also seal the sides? We talked about you seal the bottom.
So Because the sweep is installed in our process as we pre-hang, that's why we seal the bottom, but it has to be sealed within 30 days. And yes, who's ever doing the finishing needs to seal the sides and the top.
And the top. Don't forget about the top.
People forget,
Where are we? We touched briefly on time frame. So you have a gazillion, which is in my mind 300 options that they can pick from.
Yes.
And how long did you say that would take approximately to order and then get in, knowing that there's no back and forth, there's no, discount that timing. If someone were to come in, their designer, their builder, and say, I want this door, approximately how long would it take to get it to the job site?
So we have a very large inventory of doors, and that allows us to have the 5-week lead time. So that's everything from pulling it out of the container to putting it through the process to the order, everything, 5 weeks. If you order it pre-finished, which about 15% of our product is ordered pre-finished, then it's a little bit more, a couple more weeks. But but on the custom side, it is longer because we have those custom slabs, the actual, the vertical door made in our supplier in Indonesia, and then it's shipped. Right. So
I always take in then even I don't want to call it quick ship because to us it's quick ship, but quick ship thinks it's overnight for general people. Is that I add usually a week or two on top of that.
No, I think that's being safe.
Just because there's holidays, there's things that happen. There's flat tires, there's shortage of gas. Gosh knows what it's going to be.
It's everything.
And then the custom doors, I think people, most of my doors that I work with are custom, and I tell people we need to allow 6 months. And people who have never built a home before that are moving up to a nice custom home are like, oh my gosh, you have to be kidding. And there could be, 4 weeks, 5 weeks of back and forth on drawings and plans and design.
Sometimes
if you deviate from the plan. I know right now, I think I'm at 8 weeks and I'm one of the weirdos. So it takes a little bit longer. And then you have to build the door and you have to make the door. And I do always tell clients that you are signing your name in blood. When you say that you want this door and you're going to spend upwards of $10, $12, $15 plus $1,000 on a door, honey, it's yours. And it's like, if it doesn't fit and you don't like it, you've eaten it, which in the design industry means you own it, whether you throw it in the trash, you sell it, you do whatever. It is not your responsibility. It is not the builder's responsibility. It is certainly not the designer or the decorator's responsibility. It's yours. So I love the fact that you guys offer these CAD drawings because you have something. I sign off on them physically when I'm done, and I make my client sign off on them because it puts some finality to the project is that, hey, this is it. Now, but by the same token, you have to sign it and you have to get the darn thing started. It's not going to build itself. And the one that you guys are working on for me now, I mean, I was asked someone the time frame and it was, let's allow 16 to 18 weeks. And I'm telling the homeowners, I was like, well, let's add another 4 weeks for design and back and forth. We've almost doubled the design time. And so now I'm like, now you know why I wanted to go look at the doors almost the second we broke ground, because it's not like walking in and saying, I want that one and it's done. Unless that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you're building a large multi-million-dollar home, that's not what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I love doors. I think they're nice, but you need to budget for them and have an allowance for them because there's tons of options that's out there. Now, do you guys offer fiberglass? I sort of skipped over that, or is that something that is just not in your wheelhouse?
It is not in our wheelhouse.
Okay.
We're a fully integrated company vertically.
Okay.
We own the forest concessions to the wood. Our family of companies owns the manufacturing hub of the door,
right?
The manufacturing hub of the glass that goes into our doors. So all of it's fully integrated. We're wood people. So,
quick question regarding the glass. And I was just there with a couple of people, and there's this whole film now for privacy that goes in and out. I'm old school. I'm used to Flemish glass, that wavy glass, seedy glass or something.
Yep.
And I don't believe that you put curtains or shears or anything over it. It's beautiful the way it is. Well, now there's technology that you flip a switch. And I think it's the electricity heats the gas up or does something. Again, I'm not an engineer. You're smarter with that than I am. That it cleans it up. You can't see it, or it diffuses. Is that something that is offered with you guys in the doors?
We're testing it.
Okay.
So we call it a smart glass.
Smart glass. There you go. It is a smart glass.
And it does have that frosted.
Yes.
It can be instant
yes
frost. And it's used quite a bit interiors with office and commercial office, but because we're the manufacturer, we're perfecting our process to it.
Gotcha.
So it may be down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's really cool. We've ran our mouth for 22 minutes. So I've run my mouth for 22 minutes. I want to go to the pictures that's on there, which you may or may not have seen. So we'll ask our listeners to work with us a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit of description and ask you some questions. So I believe this is actually your Raleigh showroom. So we want to let our people that are on YouTube, which I encourage them to go to and look and see, that the showroom that they go to may or may not have this set up, and they may or may not have these doors. So let's get that up front. But what I'd like to do is to ask you about some of these doors, and therefore the listeners can see. Maybe we'll put some taglines that's in there. What I see with this, and I love, is at the very, very front, you have a radius or an arch top door. Is that correct?
That's right.
And same thing with this. You would not recommend the highest part being higher than 10 feet.
That's right. Yep.
And then the width you're comfortable with, 60 inches. Again, with my Apex math, is 5 feet.
Yeah.
That's in there. Okay, that's great. And then you have glass. And I do know for a fact that you can pick the glass out. There's different types of glass.
Yeah, and it's TDL. So it's
what does TDL stand for?
It's divided light. Those are individual pieces of glass. It's not simulated glass, which is one whole piece of glass, and then you have the simulated lights.
So there are on this picture on the left door, those are actually 8 separate pieces of glass.
Yeah.
Okay. And then TDL stands for true divided light. And then SDL stands for simulated divided light. And then I always have to remind people that we consider light a window or glass, not a fixture that's above our head.
Right. It's spelled
that needs to be replaced.
As well.
There you go.
There's another nuance to it. But, that's one of the key distinctions, though. Like someone that really wants a custom, beautiful wood door, they tend to go to the true divided light. And
it's authentic.
Yeah.
It's very authentic.
Yeah.
Now, the door immediately to the left is a little bit more modern. Is that also a TDL, a true divided light?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of what we sell is TDL, but with Akoya and some of the other products that we have, it's an SDL program. And some people want the clear. They want that look. They want that clear light look.
Well,
so
I'd also...
This is beveled.
Yes.
These are beveled.
Beveled. Yeah. Okay. Beveled, hard to tell in the picture.
Yeah.
I think the reason a lot of people like clear is they don't realize that there's other glasses out there.
That's right. Yeah.
That's there.
That's true.
And I always pitch there. I run into the same thing in kitchens. Yeah. Now, we're running full height and we're doing glass. I'm like, you do realize that CD glass is an original glass or bubble glass. And then there's Flemish or wavy glass. And some people want security. They want to obscure the view.
It's important.
You have the ability to do that with the glass that you have. And if I remember correctly, if I'm kind of standing there off to the right when you come in, there are 6 or 8 or 10 pieces of glass that the people can actually see what the glass is, and you can stand up next to it. I always tell people, don't stand 6 inches away from it, because that's not how it is in real life. Stand back and then look, and the fact that you have it in the front of the showroom. I always tell people, can you see your car? Can you see the tree out the window? If you can't, then your neighbors aren't going to be able to see you standing there. And hopefully people don't stand naked in the front door anyway. So who knows?
You said you liked Flemish.
Yes.
Flemish is stunning.
Yes.
Especially if there's like a Christmas tree in the foyer or something like that. It catches
the
way
light. It disperses the light. Right.
It disperses the light. Beautiful. And you can't see. You can see there's an object there, but.
No, I probably would say 80% of what I do, maybe 79%. Is Flemish. I think it's very authentic. I'm an architectural history buff. Whenever I travel, especially to Europe, I always like to go look at old homes and stuff.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it's very, it's now people, I would probably that were 300 years old that would come back and say that doesn't look like Flemish glass, but it does have the thickness and the texture, and you're still able to. And I don't know if I have pictures of it. We put the swirly whirly glass and stuff in front of it, and you have the Flemish glass behind it, and you're absolutely right. It's beautiful with the lighting, with the Christmas, the chandeliers. It's able to pull that up. Do you happen to know what wood flavors these are?
So this is Knotty Alder that you're looking here with the arch door that we're looking at, and then the other one is mahogany. So most of our doors that we produce is the mahogany.
It is, and the bulk is mahogany, and also because a lot of really, really good furniture is made mahogany, whether you paint it or you stain it. Everyone says that they get a little bit concerned that, hey, I'm worried that mahogany is going to turn red. as long as you do a medium or a darker color stain and you work with your painter or the person that's staining the door, you can overcome that.
That's absolutely.
But that's not going to look like white oak, because it's not white oak that's in there. Yeah. But it's also very stable. And it's not going to move.
And that's why we choose it. That's why we have
it. It is. Well, in the furniture industry, for a high-end piece of furniture that you want to last 200 or 300 years, guess what? It's mahogany. Whether you stain it or you paint it, that's what it is. Now, in the back,
which you can do either. Yeah,
you can't. In the back, you can see a little bit more contemporary. So I want people to understand that you have it. And then that door that's kind of to the far left, that's not a pivot door, or is it a pivot door?
Are you talking about the 5 light there with the pull bar, the long pull bar?
Yes.
And I know people can't see it, but yeah, that is not a pivot, but it's easily made into a pivot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's definitely contemporary. And then can that wood still be stained, or does it need to be painted?
That actually is the Akoya, which can be stained or painted, but you hit the nail on the head earlier when the Akoya, because it's pine, it's a treated pine.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't require an overhand.
I've learned by my mistakes.
The darker the stain, the better.
Yeah.
Right.
I've tried to stain that a little bit lighter, and then I've looked at it. I was like,
think pine.
That looks terrible. Yeah, that's in there.
Not gonna do.
No, I agree. Drago's going to go to our next slide, and I want to ask you a question. Do you provide hardware for the doors, the pretty handles and stuff?
We use the MTech brand.
MTech, great.
So just something to note: a customer that wants a full custom door.
Right.
If they pick their own hardware out, what we like to do, DSA is a little different than everybody else, is we just like them to ship the door handle to us.
Okay.
And we mill it, CNC it to their specification, so there's no mistake on the
I love MTech, and I'm just not only trying to get them to be a sponsor, but I do a lot with them, and they have beautiful products.
Yeah.
One thing we do want to constantly remind people is, I know for me, even at 8 feet on a solid door, that the way the doors operate and latch and hold have special names, whether it's tubular or this, that, or the other, that you just can't go to a local hardware big box store and get hardware that works. It's very specific, whether the doors grab each other this way or whether it shoots up into, and I know those have fancy words that I don't know what they are, but either they shoot up or they grab. Multi-point lock. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. I was searching, and that's a big deal. It's a must.
For a wood door, a multi-point lock is the way to go.
And multi-point means it
engages in multiple spots rather than just that one latch that everyone's used to, like in a double bore, which would be just a single deadbolt and a handle set. So the multi-point, you will have that, but the multi-point extends all the way to the length of the door, and it provides stability. It's secure, and it really sounds cool.
It does sound really cool, and it's better if I could remember. Well, that's almost my code word now. Everything that we do, I don't even think about it. It has to be multi, because it's at least, if not 4 places that it grabs. And I've also been taught, even with cabinets, they don't like the doors to go over certain heights because they have a tendency to move.
But the security, think about it. It's engaging in 3 or 4 up to 5 places, like
in multiple places,
and the security is there. So
it's huge. It really is.
When you shut the door, it sounds secure.
Right.
It's not a hollow door.
We're going to give full disclosure. We're not going to say that you can never break in that door, because I don't want anybody suing me or suing you.
You can break into a window.
Exactly. There you go. You can. So, but it's stable.
So like that, and I don't know if you want to go down this road, but our panel it's
thick,
very thick. It's 11 ply. It's
when you slam the door and you're pissed, your neighbor knows it.
Who's ever coming after you, try to get through that door, it's going to be it's
My big joke
is out of a horror scene.
My big joke is that when whoever, your wife, your husband, or your kid is upset and they slam the door, everyone's going to know it, because it is. I mean, gosh, what are they? 75, 100 pounds a panel, a door.
More.
A more.
Yeah.
It's
the whole frame and everything.
It's there. It's nice. But I love it. I think it's beautiful. What are we looking at right here?
So it's a great picture. This is our buggies. We call them buggies. This is how we assemble the door. We put everything together. The slab comes in. I mentioned the slab earlier. That's the big door that you see, the actual door itself, and then we assemble all the parts and pieces to it.
So I want to point out, kind of off to the picture of the right, those are lights, or windows we call them. And again, those are TDLs, true divided lights.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Would you say that these doors are approximately 8 feet tall?
Yeah, the ones you're looking at there are 8 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically the height that most of the doors that we sell are 6, 8, or 8. But eight is like Wow, what a spectacular statement that is.
8-foot is,
door.
yeah. I just did one that was 10 and it has a full radius on the top, and it is really spectacular. And it is just, this is the one I tell people, and we started with I think it was an 8-foot door, and we owned it, and we got rid of it and reframed it to a 10 and had to wait with the lead time.
Yeah.
So it's probably the most expensive door on the street because there was, I'm not going to say how much money that we threw in the dumpster, but it was more than a couple $1,000s. Because this is what we wanted. Yeah. And it was beautiful.
Yeah. And like on a remodel, if someone wants to take their old transom out, like a dated transom and make it into a radius, like you said, man, what a statement.
That would be a statement. And you would be able to see it from around the street. Our next photograph that Drago is going to pull up. Do you know this guy?
I do.
That's
Matt.
Is that Matt? So does Matt have COVID, or is that his thing not suck up dust from the door?
That was during the pandemic. We took this picture, but because we took precautions in our factory.
This is amazing. This to me looks like a little bit more of a custom door. And this is not, we want to remind everybody, it's not an interior door. This is an exterior door, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
And what I love about this picture is it shows the depth. Do you still consider that a jam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
so it shows the depth of the thickness or the jam, and it looks like he's applying casing or something that goes around it.
That's exactly right.
Now, would this be considered
in the weather stripping?
Mahogany?
This is mahogany.
Okay.
That species is,
That's not stained. And then you said the stripping, is that the black stuff
That's
you
the
see
weather
around
stripping,
it that keeps the water
that goes
out?
on all three sides,
Now, you said you're relatively new to here. Are you new to North Carolina?
7 years.
Okay, so you know about hurricanes then.
South Florida.
Okay. Oh, you definitely know about hurricanes then. Yeah. Okay, so the weather stripping, weather stripping is great. So this is wonderful. So does he still wear a mask?
No,
he doesn't.
No, we've moved out like everybody else, but we do have an impact product. So we're certified for Miami-Dade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is a big deal. We put a ton of money in that research. And
do you know you're
certified? The
wind that happens on there.
It's DP 70, but it's tested for it's a high velocity hurricane zone certified door.
Okay.
So we've got the certification to sell. And Miami-Dade certification is the gold standard.
I was going to say
this
is the biggest, isn't it?
Everywhere once you move out of Miami-Dade, nobody requires it, but people like to have it because it's the gold standard for the coast. Yeah.
And you kind of want that with your door. You don't want it to, your house might blow down, but your door's going to be standing.
That's right.
So that works there.
That's what we feel.
And it'll be beautiful. Our next
have you ever lived through a hurricane when it's blown up against the door?
I've been here for my entire life, and there was one years ago that came up through South Carolina, and I think we had 70-mile-an-hour winds in Raleigh.
So you felt enough. It's enough. You felt enough to know.
I was like, when they hit at 100, and I do have some friends in Tampa, and that are smart or stupid enough to stay. We'll let you figure it out. And I'm thinking, wow. That's pretty intense.
It's 80 degrees there today.
It is.
So it's a smart place to live.
It is, but it's not like a tornado where it comes and it goes.
No, it's sustained.
Sustained.
Yeah.
It just
shakes the whole house.
It does shake the whole house.
And the front doors.
So, front door is going to stand. This is the one I was telling you about earlier that I think loves, and I call these, they're not bullets. What are these called? Can you say it again?
Clavos.
With the C?
C, yes.
Clavos, that's in there. And then what do you call the beautiful hinge things on the left that are forged looking and splayed?
Those are our iron hinges.
Just iron hinges. Now, are they true hinges or are they something that's decorative?
No, that's the hinge. That's the decorative part of it, and then the hinge is right above it.
I got you. Yeah. And then that would be
all that's decorative, really.
3. I got you.
It's all surface.
I think it's beautiful and stunning. And again, this would be approximately 60 inches wide. So each door about 30 inches or so. Yeah. And then what I love is the little speakeasy. I call it peekaboo, but it is called the speakeasy. Yeah. And this is magnificent. And I think that whether it's stained is going to be absolutely beautiful. And this could either, again, same thing, stop at about 10 feet. You would discourage anything higher than 10 feet.
We had a door come in or a request for a door that was similar to this. And instead of those rectangular panels, there was actually they were round glass.
So
it's almost like a aquarium type.
Like a porthole.
Yeah. But in every one of those panels.
Oh, in every one.
Yeah. There's like 24 light, something like that.
Oh, gosh.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Hopefully Matt's not doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if he, yeah.
That would put someone in therapy for sure.
That's right.
Okay.
It's our custom department.
That is super custom. I'm sure it's spectacular. We'll have to see a picture. In the next slide or the next picture, we have someone using something that I can't use because I'd lose fingers.
Yeah, he's working on a radius. You can see the radius there.
Over to the right, that comes up. And again, this also, we need people to understand that doors don't have to be rectangular.
That's right.
You know, they can either have the racetrack or the full round that's on the top, or either they can have a mission arch or an eyebrow that's on the top, which is, we've been seeing some of the eyebrows for sure.
We've been seeing more of it.
It is. I love it. It costs more to build. It certainly costs more on the door, but boy, does it look pretty. And then something that you're not responsible for is that if there's a turret or a covered porch on the outside, I like that opening matches the front door.
It looks spectacular.
It does look spectacular when it's done correctly.
Totally custom.
It is.
Or a round top.
It's beautiful. I love the round top that's in there. And our slide number 7 is going to be, or 6. This again represents, what is it, an 8 light. They're holding something. It looks like they're smoothing it out.
Yeah, he's putting the hinge prep on there. So he's working on hinges. That's just part of the process. We have you can order black hinges.
I was going to say, does it matter the color of the hinges?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like in the, during the process, we make the decision when we order the interior doors. We have to tell them, either you want chrome, you want purple, green, orange, whatever, because you want your door hardware to physically match.
Right.
I would encourage listeners and other people building to do the same thing for your front door. Is that you don't want a black hinge or a bronze hinge, and all of a sudden you do a polished chrome doorknob that's on there. They need to match, which means you need to think about it ahead of time, because you don't want to. What's this guy's name? Do you know? We'll call him this guy.
Oh, it's Christian.
It's Christian. You don't want to call it Christian and say, "Oh, I changed the color of my hinges. Can you redo it?"
Yeah,
that's on there. He probably wouldn't appreciate that. So great. And then our next slide is they are sanding. And again, would you still consider this a door jamb?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. That's just some finishing touches that he's doing on the jamb.
And we need to know, or the prospects need to know, how deep your jamb is. And if they bring their plans, they have an idea of what it's going to be. Your guys are going to be able to physically look at that plan and say, this is how deep it needs to be. And you would make it accordingly.
Yeah, we need to know the rough opening is important.
Correct.
Yep. And
everywhere.
The thickness of the jamb is really important. It has to be ordered correctly.
It does have to
build a whole door, and it could be the wrong jamb.
It has to be ordered correctly, and then sometimes the plans change. And then you really do need to know that if you tweak your opening during construction, that more than likely I know for us, that door has started before we started framing.
Yeah.
And it's different than what is on the plan. You know, often I encourage people to have it match the plan. Sometimes you don't have that luxury. You have to make sure that it's right.
Yeah.
Because again, that door, once it gets rocking and rolling, you can't turn that train backwards, or pause the brakes on it. Our next slide is, we're back in the main showroom. And these again is it the clavos?
It's clavos, and this is a good picture for those that can see it. This is the knotty alder species.
Okay.
So you see that has those knots and burls in there that brings out the real beauty of that.
And it has that speakeasy door that's on it. Yeah. Now, these have, what do you call the things that's on the far left and the far right?
Side lights.
Side lights. And you guys make those as well?
We do. Yeah, that's all custom as well.
That design needs to be decided if how many windows or how many lights that's going to be in there, whether the lights go all the way down, they go all the way to the top. I think they need to match the doors, period. Regardless. I know some people want it to be a little bit different. This is spectacular. And again, this is why I love taking clients or being able to go into showrooms that you can touch it and feel it, because even you can look at this picture and obviously see that it's knotty alder that's in there, but you may get in there and say, ew, I'm not sure I like it. Or you may dislike an undertone that's physically in the wood, and you can't change that. That's in there. And I loved your showroom the other day because I forget often about that you can add these details like those clavos and those other things, and they have a really important deal. And the stain guide that came out in the back, kind of off to the right, that wood is roughed up and there's texture, and he was pointing out that there's a direction, and we don't have a picture of it. Hopefully I'll get one that's in there, but that's part of the goal. That's part of the plan with DSA, is that it's a custom door. It's some time, it's some money that you need to know all of those options. And I thought it was fabulous because I always learn something every time I go there. But he came out and gave us an education. he was like, this is what you need to do. And this is the way the grain's going. And then if we rough cut this and run a wire saw or whatever over it, it's going to look different if the grain goes up and down or if the grain goes side to side.
No doubt.
And that was really, really nice to know.
Yeah.
So I think that's fantastic.
One other thing to consider, and this is Laura and Christian, another Christian here. So
okay.
We have two. But the another consideration, I think, is when you're looking at the exterior of the door and you have the windows right next to it.
Right.
We've had clients that have changed the design of their side lights to match, or at least
absolutely, you should
be in the same ballpark
absolutely
as what the windows look like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big deal that they all blend in. And can you change the thickness of the division between the lights or the windows?
So that for the simulated divided light,
the STLs.
STL, yeah, we have thinner.
Okay.
The divided light, what divides the two glass.
Yes.
So there are available that are thinner, but that's our standard size right there.
Which I think is amazing. Now, is this Lauren? The lady
Laura,
I've been
yeah,
Laura, that I've been back and forth on. Well, tell Laura she has cool shoes. So I think that works. Awesome. That works really, really well.
Yeah.
We are getting close to wrapping, so we're going to ask Drago to jump back to my little cheat sheets on my notes. I know for a fact that I want to find out. First of all, is there anything major that I've missed? And I told you before that we clearly would not hit all of the talking points that do you feel is really important for our listeners to know? I know they need to bring their floor plans. They need to find out whom they're going to be working with. They definitely need to, and I'll bring this up in my terrific 3, find out what your showroom is. I always tell people to have a realistic budget and a realistic number. And if the client knows that they want this fully custom wood door, when they're pricing it out with the builder, make sure you got a reasonable allowance and number that's in there. But is there something that we want to, or you need to want to let our listeners and watchers know to think about?
No, I think we've hit how to set your expectations. I think that's really well. But I think the most important thing is what this is where I see one of the biggest misses on doors is that it doesn't match the rest of the house as far as the motif goes, the design motif. Like we've got traditional homes and everybody wants this modern door on the front, which can look really cool
from the outside.
But if it doesn't translate on the inside, you've got that interior look as well. So that's something to consider.
It doesn't flow and have there. Yeah. I think that's really important. One thing I want to make sure that we get is your social media.
Sure.
How can people find you guys on social media and also your website?
It's super simple. DSA Doors. That's it, at DSA Doors. So we're in LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook.
Great. And it is relatively simple because I like and tag you guys on everything and it pops up and there's not a lot of things that work there. So thank you so much for coming in. This is great. It's just, been fantastic. It has been fantastic. I tell you, it goes by relatively quick. Yep. I love you guys. I love your product. It works well. I highly encourage it. It is an education and I think people need to block more than 10 minutes and really think about your front door because it is definitely one of the first things that people notice and they see. Just like I encourage, I feel like the allowances have not been strong enough on lighting fixtures. I'm not so sure that they've been strong enough on doors. Make the decision that what you want to do. And the key thing is that if someone wanted to search if there is a showroom or a distributor, and we want to make sure that they know that it's like Franchini, we talked about that you're not for the general public, that you work with showrooms and other people. Is there a distributor location or on your website that they can look and say if they happen to live in Illinois or somewhere to see where your closest showroom is?
Yes, that's on our Find a Dealer.
Okay.
Right on our website, they can go there and see who has our door, who's trained in our doors, who knows how to sell it.
Wonderful.
And so forth. And most of them have display doors. But can I say something to you?
Sure,
I appreciate what you're doing here because you're offering a bunch of information that most people don't do. They charge for all this stuff.
And that's what we want to do.
I think it's so cool what you're doing. So it's very cool.
Well, it's just again, I've been doing this for a while and I've been fortunate and blessed. And the biggest one of the mistakes and challenges that I see with new clients is that they don't know what is involved. They don't know the timing. They don't have a proper education.
Right.
And it's just, and they get a little disappointed or they're like, well, I didn't know that this door was going to cost $10,000 or I didn't know that it was going to take 6 months to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, sometimes it's not always the money as it is the time. And then everything now, and we don't exactly, we're in the middle of January now. This will probably post and hit a little bit later, but we're longer now than we were 5 years ago.
That's right.
And who knows what we're going to be in a couple of years. I don't think it's going to change one way or the other, but it's just, that's what's happening. So that's great. I love it. Thank you so much for doing
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I can't wait to see my other drawings and get some other orders going, and hopefully people will reach out. Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What an incredible conversation and meeting with our guest from DSA Doors. This particular one's out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and his name was Ken. Don't forget all those great details he gave us, and I kind of want to bring that up now to my terrific 3. Want to make sure that you bring your plans with you when you go to that door store and you look and figure out what you want. You need to know the size of your entryway that you have. That plays a really important factor to it. That's going to help them also work with you on deciding the size of your front door. And remember that there's different shapes. They can be square on the top. They can be a mission, which is more of an eyebrow, or they could be completely round that's on the top. Remember, there's multiple options. Number 2 that you have to remember, and it's a biggie right now, is how long is this going to take to execute? You have the design on the front end at the very beginning, and then you also have production. Remember, he talked about that there was items that were in stock, and there were custom doors. And again, I would allow months and months. I'm at 4 or 5 months right now on the doors. So take that into consideration and factor that with your designing. I would encourage you, as soon as you break ground, reach out and then start that process of designing and then having your door built. That way there's no confusion and there's no delays that can get not so fabulous and wonderful for you. And number 3, the final one, find your professional DSA dealer in your area. You can go to their website. Remember, Ken said there's a search engine that you can find what's closest to you. Go say hello, look and see what they have. Make this an enjoyable process. And remember, it's almost the eyes to your house. I know they say the windows are the eyes to your house, but you're going to see this front door. It is a big deal and you want to make it happen and beautiful. So take the time to do it. Now, thanks everyone for watching. Want to remind to subscribe to my podcast. This is how you know when something new comes out and you see it. It also helps me help you a little bit better. Also want to be sure and thank my sponsors that I have. We have Jenny Blanton. She's going to handle all of your real estate needs. Reach out to her if you're thinking about something in North Carolina. Maybe if it's not even in North Carolina, see if it's something she can help you with. And also Dogwood and Company. They are based primarily in Central North Carolina. If you've got a large addition or you're building a luxury custom home, reach out to them, see if it's something they can help you with. You guys have a great day and don't forget to tune back in. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.